Here with us now in our newsroom is Dr. Christopher Doring, Vice President of Medical Affairs at Franciscan Health. It is always great to see you. So we're talking about the differences between Delta variant symptoms in the vaccinated and unvaccinated. So I remember when this first came out, it was sort of like more of a common cold, or there was sort of lesser types of symptoms, which was interesting because it was a more contagious type of variant. But now we know the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, that they are different. So can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. The classic symptoms are going to be more traditional cold type symptoms, but the problem with people who are vaccinated is you do get more folks who are asymptomatic actually. And so because the virus is spread primarily through the nasal secretions, and that's how people get it, you're going to see more symptoms that are associated with, cough, cold, runny nose, things like that. So that's kind of the what we see by differences. And again, vaccinated people are going to be less likely to have any symptoms, but still carry the virus.
Mm-hmm. And well, right. And then if they do have this Delta variant, we were talking about runny nose and sneezing, and that's sort of more in which we, like, nobody, if you have another type of strain or another type of COVID-19 which is different than this Delta one, no one's going to get infected by you being fatigued. No one's going to get infected by you having a headache, or a fever, having the symptoms. So
Right.
this is why I'm thinking that this is more transmissible. I mean, I just read a paper that it's
Yeah,
225% more transmissible. But what are your thoughts
that's
on that?
right. Yeah, and the reason for that is the concentration of the virus in the nasal passages and in the airways is about 1,000 times higher concentration. And that's what's behind the CDC changing their recommendation this week, is with this particular variant, even in folks who've been vaccinated, you're seeing concentrations of the virus orders of magnitude greater than what we've seen before, which is what makes it more contagious and more likely to be spread even amongst those who've been vaccinated.
And Dr. Doran, can I ask you if there's any way to know if we have this Delta strain without testing? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the way the testing is done, is there's not a direct test for individuals. All that testing is done at central labs at the state and federal level. But what we do know is as the proportion of the circulating strain continues to become predominantly Delta, you can say with fairly high degree of confidence that most of the virus that's spreading at the time is Delta. Therefore, it's most likely if you get COVID now, it's the Delta variant.
Right. I think I read this morning, 83% of the country is now the Delta variant. I don't know what source that's from, but I was just kind of watching the news this morning.
Yeah, and that's, that varies state to state, varies different regions around the country, but I think pretty much everywhere in the United States right now, that's the predominant strain. So pretty safe to assume if you get COVID today, have a positive COVID test, there's a high likelihood it's the Delta variant.
Mm-hmm. And if we could just say, are you surprised that we have these symptoms of vaccinated that are versus the unvaccinated with this Delta variant? Can we circle back to that? So we have our vaccinated symptoms, and then we have our unvaccinated symptoms of the variant. Are you surprised by this?
Well, so the vaccine does still provide protection. So the symptoms are going to be still pretty much limited to those respiratory type symptoms or no symptoms at all, versus those who are unvaccinated are going to be more likely to have a more systemic illness, going to have more likely to have severe COVID disease with pneumonia, respiratory symptoms down into their lungs and that type of thing. So not really. I think one of the benefits of vaccination, not only for COVID, but for influenza and other illnesses, that even if you do get the infection, the symptoms are going to be milder. You really are very well protected from severe COVID illness and death with the vaccine at this point. So, if you get it, you're likely to just have sort of mild, normal, cold type symptoms, even with the Delta variant.
Right, and I'm imagining that's the same thing if, like we talk about, if you could be asymptomatic or symptomatic and you spread the virus to someone else, let's say who is vaccinated, the same thing could happen. I mean, it could come in the form of a mild cold,
Yeah,
given the percent of
yeah,
effectiveness of the
yeah,
vaccine.
that's exactly right. And with our vaccine rates being pretty good but not great, the fact that it's so much more contagious puts that proportion that's unvaccinated at much higher risk of contracting the virus.
Right, and we're seeing this. The CDC had this sort of parsed out the symptoms, and it's similar to the original strain: the fevers, the chills, the cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle, body aches, headache. Again, that we're not seeing that loss of taste or smell in terms of this Delta variant in vaccinated people. Um, and then it's interesting because I guess I want to just say one more time, get your perspective on, it's so interesting that the symptoms of the Delta variant in vaccinated people are different than unvaccinated people, but the way in which the transmission, this is just so, it seems so upside down, but it's not. I remember we had talked about it at one point,
Right,
because you are going to get more infected by sneezing or having that sort of runny nose. And as you had mentioned, the 100 or 1,000 times more viral load. So
right.
that's, yeah, so that's, and what are your thoughts in terms of masking on that?
Yeah, and again, that's why the CDC sort of made this so-called reversal this week, or changed course to go back to recommending masking, is because of the fact that the mask will help protect against spreading that 1,000 times higher concentration virus to others, whether we are symptomatic or not. The value of masking at preventing the spread is undeniable and really appropriate given the circumstances. So. As we've talked about all along, being vaccinated does prevent people from getting COVID, but even in those who get it, it will certainly prevent severe illness and death at a very, very high rate.
Mhm.
But even at that, even if all it does is prevent you from losing your sense of taste and smell, that's a pretty darn good reason to get vaccinated. I don't want to lose my sense of smell or taste, or I don't want things that ordinarily I enjoy eating tasting like, you know, tar or dog poop or something. So
Yeah.
there's a
Oh my
great,
gosh.
those are great, in my mind, those are great reasons to get vaccinated as well.
I remember one woman telling me she had this delicious food and it tasted like, gosh, the most disgusting thing. And it's
Right,
like, when are you ever going to enjoy that again? Let's hopefully is something that is temporary. But yes, I think we underestimate, you don't know what you have until it's gone, right?
right. Oh, absolutely. And, like I say, to substitute being able to taste things that you enjoy, and now it's not, it's the most repulsive taste you've ever had. It's like, please give me a shot to prevent that too. I
Yes.
mean, I don't want to die. I don't want to end up in the ICU. I don't want severe COVID illness, but I also don't want that. So, so many good reasons to get vaccinated. Of course, not only to protect ourselves from all those things, but to help us protect others as well.
I know this is a little, this is, well, it is and it's not, a little bit of a tangent, but like, I think that it should be spoken about, that this can really affect someone. It seems simple, it's loss of taste and smell, but I've heard people getting very anxious. Is this going to come back? I mean, I know it usually does, but the importance of having these two senses that we could potentially
Right.
not have, even if, I mean, there was someone here or a friend was telling me, it's like, I was so scared it wasn't going to come back. And it might sound like a simple thing, but it's really not. We have these five senses that we're born with.
Oh, it's
They depend,
so debilitating. Yeah. I mean, and the uncertainty of how long that will be gone. I've got a nephew who's had lost his taste and smell for over 6 months. I also know, people who have long hauler who creates almost like dementia type symptoms, depression, other severe side effects. So even if you survive, you your life may be changed in a way that, gosh, again, as we've said for the last 7 months, this is now a vaccine preventable disease. We can benefit from the vaccine in so many ways, including, preventing some of these consequences.
Right, and I like how you put it, Dr. Doring. It's sort of a cascade of events. It's not just that simple loss of taste and smell. It's the anxiety
Right.
that comes after it, and then maybe depression that you might lose something forever. And I'm so sorry about your nephew. I'll you know say a prayer for him that it comes back soon and that he can
Absolutely. Yeah.
enjoy all the wonderful things of life in terms of tasting and smelling.
I know. Can you imagine a college kid not being able to taste or
Oh
smell? So
God,
anyway, not good.
cafeteria food's the best. Sometimes.
Exactly. That's right. I can't have ice cream.
I know.
I don't enjoy ice cream anymore or
I
whatever.
know. Oh my
So,
gosh.
boo.
And then, hey,
Yeah.
maybe that'll deter people from eating. Who knows? I don't know what's going down the line, but people aren't going to want
Yeah,
to eat
right.
anymore.
Ugh,
Um, all
yeah.
right. Well, Dr. Doring, always grateful for your time
Yep.
and appreciate this
Fun
conversation.
conversation. Absolutely.